Time now for the Newman Report with our international correspondent, Alex Newman. Alex, good to see you. It's been a while.
Great to be back. Thanks so much, Duke.
Well, I mean, you figured it was coming, right? I mean, mask mandates, people not allowed to show up in certain places if they don't have it, airlines toying with banning people without it. And now we have a school in Washington State that's actually putting ankle monitors on students to monitor them for COVID. It gets creepier all the time. Alex, tell us about this story.
Yeah, it's like a caricature of itself. It's so ludicrous. They're now at the point where they're putting these tracking devices on their students and their staff, and they beep if you get too close to each other. They track who is how close to whom. Supposedly, in case somebody gets COVID, then they know who to quarantine, who to contact, and all the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, the level of Orwellian creepiness here is just, it's off the charts. I think we're really in unprecedented territory. We've reported over the years on, schools trying to get kids' fingerprints and stuff, but this is just a whole new level of madness.
Yeah, you and I have talked a lot on the Common Core front about biometric devices and how many they have planned, things that want to control and measure the day-to-day functioning of the body and the brain. And this is, once again, COVID provides a really clear advantage for those globalists who like to do this kind of stuff, right? With COVID worse than ever before, even though not anybody's dying from it, kind of stuff back and forth that we keep hearing in the media. Now, this is pretty outstanding. Where did they get money to do this? What's the name of the Washington school? What age groups are we talking about? And is this part of some grant program, or is this something they came up with on their own?
Yeah, what's really interesting is actually the grant money came straight from the federal government. Pretty interesting. And so this is a little bit south of Seattle in the Tacoma area, I believe. I think it's called the Easton or the Eatonville High School. And when they got called on this, the administrators and the school officials actually defended it. They're like, "Hey, it's not that Orwellian. We're just keeping track and making sure nobody is going to get COVID." And they said, "Oh, it's voluntary," and there was a parental consent form. But what they don't say is it's only voluntary to the extent that if you don't agree, you don't get to participate in the sports. You don't get to do all kinds of things that kids normally expect that they're going to be doing at school. So it's an absolutely bonkers program. And what's for me really crazy is that the federal government's funding it. It may have been part of a pilot project. We don't know yet, but my guess is the federal government would love to see this kind of totalitarian control mechanism rolled out in government brainwash camps all across America.
Yeah, well, we do have all those grants, that money that was supposed to be COVID related, taxpayer money that was just handed over to the Department of Education for these grants to put critical race theory in place, grants to transform schools along progressive lines even further than they are now. It would make sense that, who knows, maybe this is one of those grants from the federal government. I could just see the eyes of government bureaucrats light up when you get the school gets their grant application in and it says, we want to use proximate devices, right? We want to put basically GPS-driven ankle bracelets on these kids so that we know where they go all the time, where everybody is. Could you just see them wanting to write a big check for that right off the top?
Oh, no question. And, you and I have talked about this many times. Some of the technology that the federal government was exploring almost a decade ago. I mean, we've got the reports promoting grit and tenacity and blah, blah, blah. They had, facial expression monitors that would monitor the facial expressions children make in response to various stimuli. They had, pulse monitors and posture seats and pressure mice, mouses. Unbelievable, the kind of Orwellian tools that they're rolling out. And this is all part of a broader picture. There's several things at work here, too. One of them is, of course, undermining state and local authority. We've seen that very clearly with the grants here in Florida. Our governor in Florida said that no government schools could mandate face diapers, that was a decision for parents, not for the government, and that anybody who defied that was going to lose their salary. Well, the Biden regime came in and said, hey, we've got all this stimulus COVID money. We'll just give it to whoever defies Governor DeSantis. Right? That's completely inappropriate. The other is the Orwellian control grid, right? We know that all this technology is being used not just to gather the data, but also to work in what they call the affective domain, the emotions, the views, the attitudes, the beliefs of children. And they're working to gather all this data for, first of all, the purpose of changing it, If a child has a response to various stimuli that the school considers inappropriate, like they maybe don't support abortion, maybe they don't support homosexual marriage or open borders, then the first route is an intervention. And if that doesn't work, then they have to put them on the track where they're not going to be able to influence anybody later in life. They can't be journalists, lawyers, things like that, maybe teachers, where they might be in a position to influence people. So the structures that are being created here with this federal money are so much more insidious than it seems like at first. You look at this and you think, wow, those people are crazy. That would be nice if that were the case, but there's a method to the madness, and people need to be paying attention.
You'd think there would be a significant pushback by parents. What have the parents of these kids had to say about what's going on with their children?
Well, there were a lot of parents who were very, very upset. But the ones that I saw quoted in the media, they're like, well, yeah, I was really mad about it. But, I want my child to be able to participate in sports, so I guess I'll have to sign it. And there was one that was quoted in a local propaganda outlet, probably owned by one of the big chains, saying, oh, I'm very glad. This is going to keep our kids safe from COVID. We're at the point now where we have a segment of the population. It's hard to know how big, but probably not half, but certainly more than a quarter, that is willing to give up any freedom, that is willing to do any absurdity the government commands if the government tells them that it's going to keep them safe. Right. And it goes back right to the founding era. Those who give up their freedom, their liberty for safety are going to end up with neither, and they don't deserve either one. So.
Right, you're exactly right, and I think you're right about the numbers too. It may not yet be half, but a staggering number of Americans are willing to go along with whatever government, as long as the government is praised by the media as being progressive, I would say. I'm pretty sure if Donald Trump was ordering this on people or ordering experiments, pretty sure that all those woke people would be damning the torpedoes to talk about impeaching him for a third time. But so it's a matter of, it's not, you're right, as long as the agents are progressive, or at least get credit for that in the mainstream media, then you're right. There's probably a third of people in this country that will follow them down any dark road. And the Founding Fathers gave us ample warning about this. You will lose everything. You will embrace your slave chains. We will wish you well. You have chosen your path. Staggering here in 2021, how many Americans do not value their own personal liberties. Alex, another really important Newman report. Keep it up, buddy. We'll see you soon.